Alrighty, humans, let's go ahead and make an answer key. I'm going to write Mrs. Key here just for funsy. Alright, let's see. We've got the glass frogs thing going on. During what months of study were the fewest glass frog eggs? And approximately how many glass frogs were there? So, I would say somewhere around months 4 maybe, and months, I'll call that 6, 7, and then maybe 34. And I could pick, so I'm hesitating, because it doesn't look like there's a data point here. But I mean, I could pick based on the model, I could pick somewhere like 42. And there were 0 glass frogs, so 0 frogs at those points. During what months of study were the number of glass frog eggs predicted by the function unreasonable? So I would say between 4 and 6. So 4 to 6 and 34 to 42. And my reasoning that I would explain, and I would write this down, not just say it out loud, is that it's saying that the number of glass frog eggs recorded is negative, and that doesn't really make, and it's not that it doesn't really make any sense, it doesn't make any sense. Because you can't have a negative number of eggs. Alright, during which months were the number of glass frog eggs decreasing? So we were decreasing from 0 to 4. And then from, we'll call it 22 to 34. 22 to 34. And you could write it like that. You could write it as an inequality, like 0 is less than m is less than 4, and then 22 is less than m is less than 30, something like that. What is the approximate average rate of change from the 10th month to the 20th? So 10th month is here, 20th is here, so I can't see that. Let's call that, let's be bold and say that we have the point 10, 2500. We're making this up. So if you note the points and your points are somewhat logical, we will go with it. And then I said 22-ish, so we'll call that 1400. So 22, 1400. Sorry, 14,000. And then find the slope. So 14,000 minus 2,500. 22 minus 10. So that's 12,000, 11,500 over 22 minus 10 is 12. And if you left it like that, we would be okay. You've shown us what we need to see. The units on that would be, so the top are the glass frogs, number of glass frogs, and then divided by months. So I would have to do with how many are seen kind of each month. So we took y, some of you think of it as y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Once I chose the 14,000, I had to then choose the 22 on the bottom. Because I had to, if I started with 14,000, I have to start with its x-coordinate on the other one. Sketch a set of functions whose product builds a function with the given characteristics. Ooh. All right. So this is different from before. Before, we just said, okay, graph this. So before, on the previous quiz, it says sketch a function whose degree 3, 3 distinct zeros. So 1, 2, 3. So degree 3, 3 distinct zeros. So here's what I would do. I built that. So make 1 look like this. So that's a linear function because degree 3. I can make it as 1 plus 2. And then a quadratic function. So maybe something like that. That kind of matches the pink curve I have there. So 3 distinct zeros, that means 3 different places. So I kind of matched them up. I kind of did, well, I have this one here, and I put this one here, and then I had 2 here and 2 here, so they kind of match up. If I were to multiply that together, the green and the yellow, I should get something that looks kind of like the pink. Degree 4, no x-intercepts. All right, well, let me fix my axes here, which did not come. So no x-intercepts, degree 4. Well, if I take, so that tells me don't pick odd functions. So if I take a quadratic like this, and I don't know, a quadratic, no, I'm giving the answer there. Here's what I want. Sorry. What I did last time is I sketched what that might look like. So degree 4, no x-intercept, so maybe I do this. So to make that, I need to make that from 2 even functions. So 1 even function, clicking the wrong buttons, 2 even functions. So if I multiply those together, sure, I might get the green one there. You could totally have drawn an even function like this, and the change would be, instead of that yellow one I have, I'd need a yellow one like this to make things negative. So something along those lines. You have to recognize, since that's a degree 4, I can make that up of 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. 2 and 2. I cannot pick 1 and 3 because 1 and 3 are odd functions. Odd polynomials, and odd degree polynomials will have x-intercepts. They have to have at least 1. We have talked about that in class. So make sure you don't give what we had in the last quiz. Make sure they give a set of functions whose product builds that. Make sure you are very careful. Analyze the functions. Which polynomial function has a greater relative max? So relative max. The relative max of h of x is like here-ish, so I'll call it -5, something like that. Our quartic function k of x with a is greater than 0 and 4 distinct real roots. Greater relative max. So if it's a quartic function with 4 distinct real roots, so 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, that means it's going to look like this because a is greater than 0, so we're concave up. Oh, that forces the maximum, relative maximum, to be a positive. So that's how they do these things. They don't make it like you have to actually pay attention to what the numbers are. You have to figure out positive or negative is basically what they're looking at here. So since the max for this one is a positive, remember we're talking relative max, not absolute max, and the relative max for this one is a negative. I picked -5, but the number doesn't actually matter. H of x will win. And explain your reasoning for that. So your reasoning for that would be the quartic function has a positive relative maximum, and the h of x, I almost said cubic, but I mean it looks cubic, so h of x has a negative relative maximum. Therefore, h of x has a, I picked lesser. That says greater relative maximum. I answered the question wrong. Oh, caught myself. See, this is why you articulate your thinking. So k of x has a greater relative maximum. So flip that. K of x has a greater relative maximum because it has a positive relative maximum, whereas h of x has a negative relative maximum. Function p of x models the attendance at a museum exhibit from the time it opens to the time it closes 8 hours later. Suppose the exhibit opens at 9. Estimate the times during which the attendance was greater than 100 people. Round to the nearest half hour. So 100 people. So if you said something like, so the nearest half hour, I don't know. So it opened at 9, so I'd say 9:30 until, looks like it hits 2 hours later, so 11, and I'll call that, so 6 hours later, so 6 hours later would be 12, 2 hours later would be 2 until, we'll call that 7.5 hours later, or actually I can just say that's an hour and a half later, so 3.5, 3:30, 3.5, 3:30. So maybe it would make sense, instead of 2, right, okay, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which makes me change that answer. What did I do? 3. Okay, see, this is why you should check yourself. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So this answer should have been 3 to 4:30. It's a good thing I double checked. 3 to 4:30. All right, I did it. Explain what happened to the attendance around 1 p.m. Oh, there is a C there. I will fix that on yours. So what happened to the attendance around 1 p.m. is that the attendance was 0. So no people were at the museum at that time. Maybe they closed for lunch or something. I don't know. But it was only for a moment. And then C, determine the average rate of change from 10 till noon. So 10 is right here, and then noon's right. Oh, they gave me the points. So maybe I'll put 30 minus 126, 3 minus 1. So that's going to be 30 minus, that's basically 100, but 4 less. So negative 96 over 2, which if you wrote as negative 48, that would be great. And explain the meaning of that. So the meaning of that is the number of people were decreasing at a rate of 48 people per hour. Per hour on that time period. So on average, 48 fewer people were coming in there. Is basically what's going on. So we're losing 48 people per hour in that time. All right, so I said I'll fix that typo. Make sure you're checking your work. You notice that I checked my work twice and caught 2 mistakes, so be very careful.